can't understand this type of thinking. Like, this is just so disingenuous. And like, you know what? Give me a second. Okay, you know what? I learned some more. Like a lot more. And in a good way too. So, um, honestly, I want to send this to you. And this is what I often do. One, I talk with other people. Two, I will debate against robots because they're smarter than me. 100% smarter than me. They can reference more sources than I ever can. 100%. Right? AI can tell me when I'm wrong. And I know that sounds silly to say, but think about it this way. I can reference what I know off my head. AI can reference both perspectives, both atheist and Christian. But even beyond that, let's again tackle everything this guy said. So, let's see what you said. That is with the fact that Talmud, again, we don't go by the Talmud, so get that BS on my face, bro. Anyone with a common understanding of Hebrew words understand what it's talking about. Okay, so Tafas means to take by force, but that doesn't always mean that it's an aggressive thing. Like, Tafas is used in plenty of times in the Bible when it's not. Like, again, like, here's the thing. One, these are like, it's describing specific scenarios. It's not describing every scenario. So you have to remember that if you would have read Exodus, which you didn't read Exodus because you don't read the Bible, you just look up on Google, I guess, contradiction in the Bible. But anyway, for those of you who don't know, the Bible had judges. So what that meant was that a judge would be able to go case by case. So a judge wouldn't just go based off entirely what was written in Deuteronomy or Exodus. They could say, okay, well, you know what? Based off the evidence, I think it's clear that this was rape or this wasn't rape. And when you pay attention to the context and the writing, you'll understand. But they knew what rape was. And when you look at 28 and 29, they're not describing rape because they don't even use the same words that you would describe and attribute to rape in their actual language. They don't use that. That's something you're going to see in translations because we're trying to find the closest word we can to describe a situation. And we don't do 100% accurate, 100% good job of that because that's what happens when you go word for word instead of thought for thought. But even beyond that, again, tafas can mean to grab and take hold of and seize or apprehend. It often implies force, but it's not a technical word for sexual assault. It just means to take, seize, or take hold of. So again, like an example, since she wants to use biblical Hebrew, the word, and I'm not going to pronounce this right, but it's chazak. It's Chazaq. Or another word like ana. Those words are used when rape vocabulary or when rape is being described. And those words aren't used at all. So if she wants to reference that, he can go ahead and do that. I can reference it too. None of those words are used. And those are words attributed to rape. So we're done with that point. Next point. I know rape is not the actual translation, so it's crazy that you're mentioning the fact that rape is actually not the actual translation, and you're still trying to argue this point. Like, this is where a lot of it falls off, and you're yet again referencing tafas, which means to seize. And this doesn't just mean a person, this means in general to seize or grab a hold of something. With force, yes, but again, I can grab a hold of my water, I just can't, like, this is just so disingenuous, man. This is like the next level of disingenuous. Because again, just because the word tafas is used doesn't mean rape was had. Like at all, especially because it specifically describes in verses 27. And here's another thing too. If you read, let's go back to that actually. Let's read it again. Like, man, I was about to I have other stuff to do. Anyway, what the frick, where's my screen at? Like, I can't understand this kind of mindset. So, let's share my screen actually, main screen. So this guy's saying they discovered someone witnessed or found out about the consequences. So again, I reference the fact that there were judges. Moses appointed judges to each group of Israelites, to each group of people, to the tribes of Judah, the 12 tribes. It would have been 4 tribes, I think 4 or 6 tribes from Judah, who was also known as Israel. So again, I wasn't wrong by saying Israelites. But anyway, Israelites. He appointed judges so that they could all judge the cases, so he wouldn't have the burden of having to judge every single case because he would have been tired from that, and he was tired from that. So Deuteronomy, again, you'll notice, and let's read all of this. Like, you're taking 2 verses in isolation as opposed to a whole other plethora of verses that clearly describe laws concerning sexual immorality. If any man takes a wife and goes to her and then hates her and accuses her of misconduct and brings a bad name upon her, saying, I took this woman, and when I came near, I did not find her in evidence of virginity, then the father of the young woman and her mother shall take and bring out evidence of virginity to the elders of the city, and the father of the young man shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man and marry her, and he hates her. And behold, he has accused her of misconduct, saying, I did not find your daughter of evidence of virginity, and yet this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity, and yet he spread the cloak before the evidence of the cities. Then the elders of the city shall take the man and whip him, and they shall fine him 100 shekels of silver and give them up to the father of the young woman, because he has brought a bad name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife. And again, and you want to say, oh, she doesn't have the option to say no. In Exodus, it specifically defines the fact that a father can refuse to give his wife to somebody. if he feels fit. And that also applies to the fact that she has some say in that as well. Because again, it mentions back in Exodus that a father can choose to not give his wife to somebody. He doesn't have to do that. It's putting responsibility on the man by saying, you shall do this. But again, someone else can tell him, you're not going to do this because I don't want you to be around my wife because you're not a good person. You're not a good husband. He may not divorce her all his days. And again, this is saying that the father does agree for some reason, which most wouldn't. Which I don't really say. I'm not gonna. I don't even think any would, especially in this situation. I don't know why you want to give your wife to someone or your daughter to someone who doesn't appreciate it at all. So yeah. But this is obviously in specific cases, and again, they don't have to go by this. They can. The judges can simply say, you know what, you're not gonna. No, you're just not gonna marry her at all. So there was a legal system. This was used as a guidance tool, and this was talking about scenarios, not like this wasn't describing things. Like this wasn't describing every scenario. And then again, they shall bring out the young woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her. Let me see. But if this thing is true, the evidence of virginity was not found. So again, if she was lying that whole time, which again, like, there's no reason to be lying about this. Stone her to death with stones because she has done an outrageous thing in Israel by whoring her in her father's house. So being extremely promiscuous, because this would imply that she had sex with someone else or multiple people. You shall purge evil from your midst. Again, their whole goal was to be set apart, so they could not let these kinds of things slide. If a man is found lying with the wife of another man, both of them shall die. So the woman and again, this is clearly them talking about the fact that they're cheating. They're cheating. The man is cheating with the woman's cheating with the man. That's why they're both sentenced to death here. Because they're cheating. Does it specifically say, and oh yeah, she decided, no, but it's clear that that's talking about that. And you can tell that if you read the entire chapter and chapters before and Exodus. Like, it's not that hard. Just read. If there is betrothed a virgin and a man meets her in the city and lies with her, then you shall bring them both out of the gate of that city and you shall stone them to death. Again, this is cheating. This is cheating. She's supposed to be marrying somebody and she's going and cheating. The young woman, because she did not cry for help. So this is implying that she was not being raped. This is implying that she's not being raped because she's not crying for help, which she 100%, like, I don't know anyone who just doesn't scream when this kind of stuff happens to her. Like, I've seen videos of, because I don't remember which country it was. It's somewhere in, like, it's a Spanish-speaking country, but there's videos of this guy who walks around and tries to prank girls by, like, scaring them, which I don't think he should be doing at all. But basically, every time you see these girls, like, get jump scared by him, they scream. He hasn't even touched them yet, and they scream. They scream loud, like you can hear them scream. I might actually put that in the video just for the sake of it, because again, when this happens, when you're getting attacked, you scream, you react, right? Anyway, so you shall purge the evil from your midst. And again, it also mentions the fact that there are cases where no one was able to hear her cry for help as well. So like, they're not just saying, oh, if you didn't cry for help, no. No, they're accounting for the fact that there's cases where she won't be heard or that just doesn't happen. So again, these judges would sit there and say, okay, well, based off of what we have evidence so far, we're going to say that you did do this. You did rape her because it's very clear this didn't look consensual at all. Right? So these are guidelines. These are not the whole entire set of things. They can simply say, no, we're not going to practice it this way. He's not going to take her as a wife because he's not shown to be a good husband or a good man. So he's not acceptable with this. And then we get to 28. If a man meets a virgin who is not betrothed and seizes her and lies with her, and they are found, then the man who lay with her shall give to the father of the young woman 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he has violated her. But again, I mentioned to you in Exodus, it similarly talks about a law like this, and it says the father can choose to say no, which I'm almost certain a father would often choose to say no. A man shall not take his father's wife, so that he does not uncover his father's nakedness. So again, incest. Because God specifically told them at this point they need to stop practicing this. Because it's not at all necessary, and they need to stop doing it. So I stress to you, like, seriously, bro. You're referencing the Talmud, but you're not going to reference Christian scholars who have been studying this stuff for years of their lives. Longer than you and me have been existed. Longer than you and me have even been thought of. Even beyond that, bro. Like, give me one more second. Again, I reference Exodus. This is Exodus 22, 16 through 7. It's considered a parallel law by nearly all scholars. Scholars, you should look up some scholars instead of just making your own, like, weird theories that everyone else before you was made and failed to defend. If a man seduces Pata, a virgin, he must pay the bride price. So, Exodus previously talks about the fact that if you seduce a virgin and you're not going to marry her, there is a price to be paid. If the father refuses to give her to him, the man still pays. Like, oh my gosh, you just need to read the Bible, bro. You just need to read it. And if you're not gonna read it, just stop talking. Seriously. You know how disingenuous it would be for me to attack Islam for their beliefs and not actually read their book and study it and look into it? You know how disingenuous that would be. Oh my gosh. And again, they are discovered only means the act becomes publicly known, not that it was rape. Being found in the act moves from, private privacy to it being like a legal, actionable. Again, there's just so many things to. Give me a second, bro. Yeah. No, the best way to put this for you, bro, this is procedure. This is a procedure thing. Like, these are all procedures. Every one of these are procedures. Wait, no, wrong one. Sorry. Oh, wait, I'm not even, dang it. Where is it? There you go. These are all procedures. And again, you can go off of a procedure or you can just ignore the procedure entirely, which is what they did. Like, again, I stress to you, like, I'm pretty sure in Exodus, and I'm going to find it too. I'm going to try to find it off the dome because I know it's there. Because again, when I was 7 years old, probably way younger than you are right now. Not to say there's a problem with you being old, but again, at 7 years old, I had the decency to just not instantly think wrong. Oh no, that's God being evil. Anyway, Exodus, because this would have been after they were freed from Egypt. What the no, not Exodus. Read the full chapter. There we go. The Passover, the consecration of the firstborn, the crossing of sea, bread from heaven, water from rock, Jethro's advice, the tinker. Which, you know what? Actually, we're going to read this. On the third moon after the people of Israel had gone to the land, go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow and let them wash their garments. Now, let's see where Jethro specifically advises Moses that he shouldn't go over every single person. He should have judges specifically in specific districts that will judge specific cases so that he can focus on the really major cases. Which, let me see. Sign of the company, use yourselves. Moses came and called the others of the people and set before them all what he will do. Moses reported the words of the Lord, and the Lord said to Moses, behold, I'm coming to you in thick cloud. When will come Mount Sinai on the morning of the third day, and the Lord said, go down and warn the people, let them break. Where's Jethro? Oh, this is not even the right chapter, my bad. Not 18. I was about to say this. Look at all. Okay, so Jethro the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard all about the God had done for Moses and for his people. And this he specifically says, Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed down and kissed him, and they asked each other of their welfare and went to the tent. They're trying to get to know each other again because he hasn't seen him in a while since he was all the way in Egypt trying to feed the slaves. Jethro blessed the Lord who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egypts and out of the hand of Pharaoh and has delivered the people from under the hands of Egypt. And one of the things he says, next day Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood around Moses from morning till evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw that all he was doing for people, he said, what is it that you're doing for the people? Why do you sit alone and all the people stand around you from morning till evening? And Moses said to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a dispute, they come to me, and I decide between one person and another, and I make them know the status of God, the statutes of God, and his laws. Moses' father-in-law said to him, what you're doing is not good. You and the people, you will certainly wear yourselves out, for the thing is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it alone. Now obey my voice. I will give you advice, and God be with you. You shall represent the people before God and bring your cases to God. And you shall warn them about the statutes and the laws, which is what he does later on in freaking Deuteronomy, bro. It's not that hard. And then you will assign people chiefs of thousands and chiefs of hundreds, fifties, and tens, and let them judge the people at all times. So he gave those judges guidelines to go based off of procedures. So again, they didn't always have to go exactly how it words in Deuteronomy. Like, seriously, you just need to look this stuff up. Scholars have done the work for you. They've done it for you. You have had someone go ahead of your time and do it for you because they care enough to sit there and question why God would allow what seems wicked, but then like, oh, wait a minute, this makes sense. They're doing what we do today in court of law. They're setting guidelines down, but guess what? The judge can go off script and say, you know what? I've examined this case, and what I actually think is this. I think that we're not going to go like based off this. No. What's actually going to happen is this. This is going to happen, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and you're guilty. Like, this is just so disingenuous. You know how berated I would get if I argued like this with any other religion or any other group for that matter? Like, seriously. You just gotta look stuff up. And better yet, maybe you should stop doing that. Maybe that's why you're in the conundrum you're in right now. Maybe you scroll too much on Reddit or something. I don't freaking know. Maybe you were scrolling on Reddit or something. But like, you could literally go to an AI and ask it why. Like, it's worded like this. Ask it if it makes sense. You could literally go to an AI. You could go to Chat GPT right now, and I bet you would tell you that Matter of fact, because I don't expect it to get everything right, but it's a freaking robot that can like actually process information at a faster rate than any human can. Can you explain or make sense of Deuteronomy 22? Does it make sense? Um, does it make sense? What's another question I can what's a better way to phrase this? Deuteronomy 22 doesn't make sense. Does it hold similar to today's laws? Does it really read just like it says? Or is there more to it? If need be, take both sides as you see fit. It's obviously controversial. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. It's obviously controversial. And then, but is there sense behind it? Did God really say one thing and then say another thing? What do scholars say? Okay, let's see what Gemini has to say. I'm honestly kind of curious. Deuteronomy 22 addresses a variety of issues caring for a neighbor's lost property to capital offenses for sexual immorality. The lost property, you must actively seek to return the neighbor's lost animal or item. The principle is love your neighbor and respect to property rights. So again, like love your neighbor. They like, oh my gosh, but there's just so many fundamental things that you have to be like ignoring that God teaches people to think that this is okay, to think that your mindset of that verse is okay. The law emphasizes God's desire for order and holiness being set apart in the nation of Israel. So cross-dressing, mixing kinds. Mixing kinds is against I'm pretty sure mixing kinds would have been because they don't if you are married to someone, you're going to compromise some of the things you believe to agree with what they believe. Or if you both believe the same thing, you don't have to compromise that. So again, them mixing with people would make them less distinctive because when they adopt their traditions, which he literally mentioned, like God mentions that. He mentions the fact that if they adopt other people's traditions, they're going to be like them, and they're going to start becoming more corrupt. Controversial laws, second morality. Context is key. These laws reflect the social structure of an ancient patriarchal society where women's honor and economic security were tied to her sexual purity, and marital. So again, unfortunately, women were not treated good back then. Laws aimed to protect marriage, ensure an orderly society, and provide a legal process for justice through outcomes, though the outcomes are harsh by today's standards. Right. So, for example, obviously, we don't kill everyone who rapes someone. Like we don't do that. I mean, maybe some states do that, but I don't really think any state does that. Anyway, adultery. The death penalty is prescribed for both the man and the married woman, rejecting a sexual double standard, an important point in ancient law. Right, versus consensual sex. The law distinguishes between consensual sex with a betrothed woman, which is treated adultery capital crime because a betrothed woman was considered legally married, and she is assumed to have consented in the act of happening in the city, because otherwise she would have screamed. Right, again, that's describing cheating. Um, and rape in a secluded place like a field where she is considered innocent because her cries would have been unheard. This is a distinction between rudimentary attempt at justice and acknowledging the victim's lack of consent. The unengaged virgin. The law requires a man who has sex with an unengaged virgin, whether consensual or through assault, based on translation debate. And again, this is a debate, but it's really not even that much of a debate if you actually look at what scholars say. To marry her and pay her high bride, he may never divorce her. The scholars debate whether the Hebrew word implies full pledge rape or non-marital sex, which it's clearly talking about non-marital sex because again, before that it defines what rape is, and they don't even use the same Hebrew words like to describe. They use Hebrew words to describe rape in this situation, but they don't use Hebrew words at all that would describe rape. Like again, they don't use words like thakas or ana, which are words that you would describe with rape, and they don't use that at all in 28 and 29. The outcome, though, offensive to modern sensibilities, provided a form of economic security and protection for the woman who would otherwise be deemed unmarriageable and face destitution. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Whoa. It's like, never mind. I'm not even gonna go there. Civil penalty. Okay. Hold some of today's laws. No, not in it, and I don't think it would honestly, because again, we don't kill people, because we don't. There were. I don't even know if the death penalty is legal in most states anymore. The spirit of a law, care for neighbors, lost building safety regulations. Another question: did it always have to go this exact way? Have to go go exactly as the scenarios described in Deuteronomy, could a father or the woman say no to the marriage? Could a judge or chief go off script and go based off the evidence, or was it all set in stone and it had to be done that way? Culture scholar views in theological sense. Does it really read just like it says, or is there more to it? Scholars agree that while the context is authoritative, its meaning requires deep historical and linguistic analysis, especially concerning the penal laws. The text needs to be read with an understanding of its causistic case-by-case legal structure. Okay, so case by case, which was common in the ancient Near East, similar to the Code of Hammurabi, but with a unique theological foundation. Translation: the precise meaning of a certain Hebrew words or passage is debated. And again, we've already both discussed the fact that we understand there are different translations that don't use that term because, again, that's not what happened. In this context describing it. Cultural context, understanding the legal status of an engaged woman, the significance of the virginity test, and the economic hardship facing a disgraced woman is crucial for interpreting law's intent. Intent scholars argue that the primary intention was to establish justice and honor from the community, even if the method appeared brutal from a modern perspective. The death penalty for certain sexual crimes, for instance, reflects the high value placed on the sanctity of the covenant and marriage, because again, marriage wasn't made by humans, it was made by God. God made marriage when he first introduced Adam and Eve. The question of the God changing his mind or giving contradictory is often addressed by looking at the covenant framework of the Bible. Old covenant, Mosaic law, Deuteronomy is part of the Mosaic law, which is a civic covenant given to the nation of Israel. It was a complete governing system of a theocracy, God ruling directly over a nation, covering civil, criminal, and ceremonial life. New Covenant Testament, the New Testament centered on Jesus Christ, establishing a new covenant. So we're not even bound by this anymore. And part of the reason why the old covenant was so significant is because, again, we didn't have Jesus then. Jesus died for, I'm not even going to, you don't even care about that. You're just here to try to make an argument and think you're right. Ceremonial and judicial laws, like those in Deuteronomy 22, are generally considered to have expired within the old covenant. Moral law, like the Ten Commandments, are reaffirmed under the New Covenant. Therefore, a form of theological perspective is not that God contradicted himself, but that he gave different covenants for different eras and different people groups. The severity of the judicial laws in Deuteronomy reflects the standard of the holy nation under a direct covenant with God, a standard which is now applied internally to the conscience of the believer under the New Covenant. For example, Jesus shifts the focus from the act of adultery to the heart of lust, which he says, if you've heard it said that if you commit adultery, that if you commit adultery when you sleep with a woman. But I tell you that if you look at a woman with lust, you committed adultery in your heart. Anyway, one more question, then we'll end it here, because I think the bot's doing a great job being neutral. The father and woman say veto power. While Deuteronomy states that a man must marry the young woman, a key piece of evidence for flexibility comes from an earlier parallel law, which, guess what? In history, we reference what was said previously to also confirm what is mentioned now, which is kind of crazy that you don't comprehend that at all. When Deuteronomy states the man must marry the young woman, the key piece of evidence for flexibility from an earlier parallel law in Exodus 36:7, which deals, if a man speaks a virgin who is not supposed to marry, refuses to give her to him, he must still pay the bride. Yup, okay. Literally what I was saying. Scholars widely believe this Exodus text provides the necessary context for interpreting Deuteronomy 22, 28 through 29. The father's veto in the case of seduction, the father explicitly had the right to refuse the marriage, even though the man still had to pay the hefty fine by the price. Applying to the veto of Deuteronomy, many scholars and Jewish commentators argue that the right of refusal by the father was assumed to be enforced in the case of Deuteronomy, as well as since the act described in Deuteronomy, it's generally viewed as more aggressive, or at least more compromising a woman's honor. Again, which is why some translations use the word rape, because, again, one of the things we obviously always think of is how you've stolen something from somebody, you've attacked them, and not obviously necessarily them, but also like you have shamed them. So this woman, like, again, women were unfortunately, again, at this time viewed only for their value and virginity, which is they're far more worth than that. But God understood the hearts of his people. He understood they were evil and wicked. So he looked ahead of time and made regulations to protect women. Anyway, if he's more aggressive or at least more compromising the woman's honor, that's than a simple seduction. I generally kind of wonder how far you watch these videos. I kind of wonder if you even pay attention. But anyway, the purpose of the law was to punish the man with a heavy fine and obligation to provide lawful support and protect the woman, guaranteeing her husband economic security. If the man was so detestable or dangerous, the father acting on behalf of his daughter's best interest felt the marriage would be worse than remaining unmarried, the father could veto the union. The man still paid the fine and could never divorce her, even if they didn't marry. He was severely penalized. The woman's agency, while the text of focus on the father as legal guardian, the veto essentially grants a woman a form of agency through her family. It's highly unlikely that a father would force his daughter into a lifelong marriage with a man he hated or she hated or feared. Because what loving father would do that to their child? Especially when the law provided him with a financial penalty, the 50 shekels, even without the marriage. Conclusion on veto. The scenario of the unbothered virgin, the obligation he must marry her primarily falls on the man as a punitive lifelong duty to provide, not on the woman who was likely protected by her father's right. Which again, mind you, the woman's getting off clear, almost scot free for this if she consented to this. Um, which again, there's if she didn't, then again they would go through the work to find if she did or didn't. Like these people weren't just like sitting and goofing off. They were serious about this. They were serious about this. They were 100% serious. And I know they were because at one point when Moses said, you are to follow God and love him and do what he says, it literally says all the people said, we will do what he tells us to do. Anyway, the role of judge chief going off script. The Judas laws of the Old Testament, while divinely revealed, were not applied by a faceless bureaucracy, but by local elders and appointed judges. The Bible explicitly instructs these judges to show no partiality, do not pervert justice, follow justice and justice alone. Base decisions on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. The emphasis on justice and evidence suggests that the judges had a crucial role in interpretation and application, investigating the crime before any penalty had. Like again, like I can't. You could have just used AI and you would have looked. Oh my gosh, bro. And I don't need AI to tell me this. I know this stuff off rip. This makes sense to me because I study this and I look into stuff and don't just read crap and say, oh well, you know. Anyway, like this is just disingenuous. Like seriously, that's like reading any book. Again, I reference this. If you read Hunger Games and just read that Katniss killed somebody by shooting them in the head with a bow and arrow and didn't read or watch the movie before that, ahead of that, or any, and just cherry pick that one point, you'd be like, oh, she's a murderer. When in reality, she's in a 1v20, she's in a 1 versus all 24 people Hunger Games where their goal is to kill or live, like, from not killing, which wasn't likely. Like, seriously, bro. The laws were the standards set by God and could not be outright ignored, but the judges were empowered to rule based on evidence and to apply the law's principles, its general equity to specific circumstances, was required a deep understanding of justice. And like again, I cannot stress this to you. An AI solved this which I guess it's an AI, so I'm not going to sit here and like dog you on that. But again, the AI would have simply explained this to you. Knowing you would have asked the question like, which I'm not spelling right because I'm typing like an idiot just to, you know, make a joke, but that's not how you spell versus. Well, it doesn't matter. He's gonna know what I'm saying. You probably just type this crap in AI. And then you just, I bet you didn't even read the full, I bet you didn't even read the full chapter. Like, yeah, which this isn't even a contradiction, because at the same time, if I ask the AI to ask what scholars say and how scholars answer this, like, again, bro, just freaking read. And if you're not going to read, just stop. Drop it. If you don't even believe in God and that he's just, or that you don't even believe that he exists, there's no point in this. Like, this holds no weight if God doesn't exist, which you seem to believe. And it also seems to be that you believe if he does exist, then he's an unjust God. So then I guess just drop it. He's unjust. I've given you answers. I've given you answers that scholars agree on. I've even gone through the work of like entering a whole prompt into chat using your comments, the 4 comments you commented, and answered it. This video is almost 50 minutes long. I'm gonna cut it in half, because there was a point where I kind of just like locked in twice as much because I just couldn't deal with this BS. I'm not gonna lie to you. But anyway, that being said, God bless you. Do homework or something. Do research. And again, if you're not gonna be genuine about it, just don't approach it at all. If I were to do this to Islam or Buddhism or any other major religion or any other major belief, like anything I don't agree with, I would look so stupid. I would look incredibly monkey stupid for just cherry picking specific parts of said thing. Like, do you know how easy it is to cherry pick and make something look bad? Do you know how easy that is to do? And we do it all the time. Like, we do it all the time. We really do. So, again, like, bro, stop being so disingenuous. If you actually, like, have a qualm with something, don't just, like, seriously, like, I have the mindset that when I disagree with something, I learn why it is that way, and I do research. I don't just, like, read it for face value. I actually dig into stuff, which I don't know if you do. It doesn't seem like you do at all. But, like, seriously, just do that. It takes 5 minutes. You have the internet at your disposal, at your fingertips. You can look up a plethora of information in seconds on your phone, on your PC. Heck, maybe even on your smartwatch, depending on what kind of smartwatch you have. I'm pretty sure that some smartwatches can actually look up stuff now. So, like, you just have no excuse to be messing up this bad. God bless you, bro. Praying for you. Amen, bro.